Yeah, you guys are. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody to the work session. January 27th, 9:30 a.m. on the dot here. Beautiful town hall, Southampton. I'll ask the secretary treasurer to handle the roll.
Scott Horowitz,
Here.
Ed Warner here, Chip Marin,
Here.
Joe McLaughlin here, and Matt Parsons.
Recording in
Gentlemen,
progress.
nice to see everybody. Let's get right into business here because I know we got a gigantic executive session. Got some discussions here. Secretary Treasurer Warner,
Yep.
Cornell Seating.
Recording in progress.
Kelsey Snook. Would you like to come up to the?
Come on up.
I mean,
You can sit right here with us.
right
Yeah. Come on, sit down and
We're friendly.
have a nice conversation. Sign in.
So I guess you're filling in for Greg?
Yeah,
He's
so I'm
retired.
here for a couple reasons. Just kind of introduce myself since Greg's retirement from Cornell Cooperative Extension. I've been kind of tapped to kind of take over this portion of some of his tasks.
Awesome.
The one and only Mike Patricio has joined me today. He's the one who produces all the shellfish. He
Oh,
doesn't
nice.
often make public appearances.
Glad you took the
Can I
time to come see us.
Yeah.
Can I ask a stupid question? Greg's old enough to retire. He used to be my neighbor when I lived in Sound Beach. I didn't think
Hard
he
to
was that
believe.
old.
I know. He doesn't really slow down either. So.
Can't slow down.
I think enjoy himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Well, that makes
I
sense.
didn't think it was that much
spend
older than
time
him.
with Karen
Truthfully.
and his puppy.
That makes sense.
So I'm Kate Rossi Snook. I have a couple different roles at Cornell, some of which is helping Mike out in the hatchery. I used to be hatchery manager at East Hampton Town, worked with Jamie.
Okay.
So I did that for 6 years. Then worked out in Montauk for a little bit, and then missed the shellfish life. So I came back and started working with Cornell. So that's just a quick introduction to who I am. And then I guess the main reason we're here is to kind of go over, what you guys hope to receive for shellfish seeding.
Yeah, in the past we were just getting basically clams, oysters, and scallops. Last year we changed up the oysters a little bit. We asked for spat on shell so that we could do some projects in Quantic Bay, which we have had closed for almost 30 years to shellfishing. It is certified from basically the 1st of December until April. So, but we want to make that like the epicenter of our oyster rehabilitation. We keep pushing the oyster reefs back further and further into the bad water, which seems to be like the middle of Quantic or
Sure.
western, Richards Bay. Being that said, myself and Chip Marin, trustee here, he worked on some oyster aquaculture, and our thoughts just putting the small oysters in this silty kind of bottom might not be as good idea as putting something with some substrate around them that they could settle in and actually make an oyster reef there. So that's what we're looking.
Yeah.
And then the hard clams, I know historically we've always gotten basically 6 or 7 month growth of a hard clam, and then we're putting hundreds of thousands. But the last couple of times that we seeded some areas, we haven't seen any of those hard clams have much of a survival. And I know when the Bayman's Association grew the clams, they overwintered them one or two winters, and when they put them over, we had a very good, almost a 90% survival rate. So, I mean, my thought is, I know it's a lot more work for you guys and a lot more space taken up, but is that something you guys could maybe do with the hard clams?
Yeah, so jumping around a little bit, so that's, I had Janie print out some sheets that I kind of drew up. So you had already kind of given me when we talked on the phone a little taster of what you guys would be looking for. So Mike and I kind of talked about what would be required to try doing these overwintered clams. We would have to kind of shift. We wouldn't be able to do all the clams as overwintered. I think it would be a trial, right?
We're hoping to do like a percentage of them.
Oh, I know, because when they grow exponentially, they just take over the whole hatchery.
Yeah,
I understand that. So,
and possibly try a couple different methods to see which works, and you know, might need to be given a space in Southampton waters to try to attempt to do some of this overwintering. But I guess long story short is we're open to trialing the
Yeah.
overwintered clams for you guys. So yeah.
Mark, sorry, like the two of us work together at Cornell.
Okay.
I got my
All time,
internship there, so we worked together in the early stages of Cornell. He taught me algae culture for my first go around, so it's kind of a circular family here. But yeah, our main concern is the survivability of the small clams that we get from Cornell. For the amount of money we spend for it and the return on investment kind of is minimal. I know that like back when you and I were working with Kim in the hatchery, we're talking about predator netting and stuff like that could be possible to experiment with in like Southampton town and stuff, but it's pretty labor intensive. Yeah, so
we did try something like that in North Sea Harbor. We did put clams over that we had gotten from Cornell, and we did try predator netting, but that basically it didn't work.
It gets a little
just
Yeah, exactly.
grass
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
dies underneath it,
Right.
pretty much.
I think, so the one technique that Kate did at East Hampton was putting in a type of ADPI bag, cage
Yeah.
type of thing, put them on the bottom.
Kind of
through the
like
winter.
flatter envelope bags. You put a designated volume of the clams in the bag, kind of like try to even them out in the bags, and then gently put them overboard
Okay.
on a line that's then like
Like a long line, yes.
on the bottom,
Yeah.
like weighted on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then in the spring, you hook the line, hook it over your cleat on the boat, and run down and just kind of clip off the
Yeah,
bags.
because back in the 70s, the Baymen's Association
we made those big
like
sand racks.
20 by 20, 2 foot by 2 foot, wooden trays,
Mhm.
fill them with sand, and then we have them floated all summer, and then we would they would submerge because they were waterlogged, and then we'd pick them up, and it was really labor intensive, but
Yeah.
the survival rate was incredible.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I haven't discussed it with everybody else, but I personally would just like to take a pause on clams. I know it all depends on your hatchery schedule, but I'd really like to, with the amount of clams that we have going on in Shinnecock right now, I personally would just like to see a real push on bay scallops and oysters.
well, I'd like them to at least experiment with a few, maybe a small amount of clams, see if we can get them to a larger size. Not like
we
get hundreds
don't
of
need the
thousands.
hundreds of
No,
thousands. Yeah.
no, I agree with that.
Maybe we could shift some over to my area in Riches too, because we don't have any seeding going. No, we do a little bit, but not like the Weesaw Creek, spawner sanctuary, which is what's providing
No,
the hard clams.
We have every year. I've tried to, scallops, clams, oysters, try to mix them up over the years. And each trustee in the area, if they want some over there, like
Yeah.
Sag Harbor got some, and then North Sea usually gets the lion's share of everything. But then Shinnecock we've done, and Mauritius. But Mauritius, I know, working up there, there's a lot of crabs, a lot of green crabs and blue crabs. So if you're going to put clams up there, you should make them a larger clam.
Bigger, yeah.
I would definitely recommend that in that specific
I
area.
mean, my concern with clams is the consistency in maintaining what we got going on in Eastern Shinnecock, and I think that is coming out of the success of the sanctuaries that we have in Western Shinnecock, and just making sure that stays productive, and that cycle keeps working. Because I think maybe as those clams age out, I don't know what the recruitment is that we have there. I don't think it's much, because it seems to all be going to the east. So I would just like to, just make sure that we have that system fortified as best we can, so that we have that productivity, so that we keep getting those
Continued,
success to the east. So that's my concern about hard clams and just the whole equilibrium we have going on.
I think the volume that they're willing to put aside and produce would be an answer to everybody's question here. But I mean, if you're going to produce, say, 50,000 or 100,000 or 300,000, that's substantially a lot of difference between a few to a lot. So if we have 300,000 larger clams, 100, 100, and 100, which is a considerable amount of volume when they do grow up. And I'm just asking, what kind of volume are you going to look at to produce or work with us producing?
Well,
I mean, you don't have the answer right now. I mean, you can go home back to your lab and calculate.
Yeah, because once you scale it up with
Yeah.
size, it just becomes unmanageable.
Right.
I think like with the overwintering stuff, like if you had a nice spot in Southampton town waters that they could stay into the spring and start growing again once the water starts warming up.
Okay.
Wasn't that Weesuck area historically a?
Yeah, but that's also you want a harder bottom area.
I thought
So
that
where
was.
It
we
was a
did
really
it,
good area.
where we did it in East Hampton was in Northwest Creek.
Okay.
Relatively okay. Yes, it was labor intensive trying to pull that up out of the muck, but it they do need to be able to burrow down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have quite a few creeks and harbors that I could suggest that just figuring out which is the easiest access point to retrieve
Right.
them, I guess.
It's just a matter of materials costs for just upfront costs.
Yeah.
For that, and then because once you put them in, through the winter time, you don't really like pick them up again until
Yeah.
the water start warming up.
Yeah.
So it's-
Like probably a cable.
Which, in order to, I believe, to overwinter them in what you were talking, like the bags, it would have to be a soft enough bottom so that
Exactly.
they kind of muck over,
Exactly.
settle
so
in.
they keep
Yeah.
so it keeps them from freezing over the winter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So like in front of my dad's house over there in
Yeah,
Tiana,
that'd
it's
be
just it's such a
extreme.
protected good area
Yeah,
that's been
The Tiana
Or
or
like
the.
I'm thinking like Low Neck Boulevard up in Flanders, at that last canal over by Fantasy there. that we've been
Yeah, but
talking about.
that's not. Well, yeah, that's not town, is it?
Yeah, it's town.
It's
It's
town,
Yeah.
It's uncertified town. Tiana would be
Yeah.
a good spot.
We just have to be careful of whether we want to be in certified or uncertified, because then it becomes a relay permit with the state. So it would be easier if we put them directly in certified water than
Right.
uncertified water,
Yeah.
because then we need another relay permit.
Absolutely.
Another concern is if there's going to be more dredging over the winter.
There's not going to be any.
No dredging this coming year. This
No,
coming
these
season.
areas we're choosing are
Okay.
pretty much. They are what they are. They're not going to be any.
These areas, they wish there was dredging.
No,
Okay.
no, no
Okay.
That's a long haul
Yeah.
wish.
Okay.
Is it cost prohibitive to set up some sort of like greenhouse system with a raceway on shore and have water come through for overwintering?
It's the food. You have to heat
Well, they're not
them.
really eating. They're
Yeah, but
It's-
once if
it's
you
an
put them on
alternative.
land and it's 50 degrees, they're going to start to pump.
But if you circulate water through it on the constantly, it's
Right.
going to have the temperature of the water.
Yeah, but clams seem to the ones in Shinnecock really seem to go dormant once the temperature gets below 40 degrees. And last winter, the water temperature was 42, 44 degrees a lot of the time. Because I
Have
was
you run
catching,
them through flopsies through the winter? Have you tried that?
Not like with the Flopsy running. Like our colleagues have done some overwintering trials and just
Like
leaving them.
modified barrels, kind of like the barrels we use for the flupsies,
Yeah.
but like modified slightly. So yeah, it could be like a trial situation. We could potentially.
Because I mean,
try
a
a
running,
couple
a
different-
consistent running water would keep them from icing, but I don't know what that would do with clams. Oysters would be fine, but I don't know what
clams
clams
are
would do.
susceptible to
Yeah.
if they get too cold.
Yeah, exactly.
The lobster in Cold Springs. That's the perfect place to put them in that little creek area.
Mhm.
Right in front of it. It's deep. It's sheltered. You got springs there.
Yeah, just as long as we're not interfering with anyone's clamming grounds.
No, that's
we don't
it's,
want to
it's
inhibit the
uncertified
access.
there or seasonally uncertified there.
Okay.
So that would be the perfect place to put them.
Okay, so you want us to think about
Toning
What
down
kind
the
of-
volume because it's,
and like what kind of numbers we could work with, or do you want to just throw out a number and see if we?
well,
can
it all
match
depends on how much we can deal with on the post flupsy.
Yeah.
You know, you and I both know that once you start moving them out in the field and trying to protect them over the winter, that the volume has to be like knocked right down to.
Yeah, we'd have to figure out what we could do per cage,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
how many cages.
Well,
per
it sounds
animal.
sounds like you definitely want to try.
I
some of
definitely want to
this,
try
yeah.
it because I know historically with the Baymen's Association, the survival rate was, extremely good.
Mhm.
Well, I remember one time we were out in Shinnecock Bay on the barge, and we were going through clams that were in, I guess, sand trays there, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's the one he was talking about.
Yeah. That was a while.
That was a long time.
Yeah, it was.
I think they were defunct on the beach by the time I saw them.
Yeah.
And then, so possibly pause on the first year hard clams, or do you guys want to discuss that as a
I think we
first?
should discuss it, but I
I
really
think-
would like our concentration to be on scallops and oysters personally. But
Especially with the state looking into this parasite-resistant
Right,
scallop
yeah.
that we've been working on. I was on a couple Zoom meetings, which I found very interesting, and the amount of work that they've done is pretty incredible. So,
Yeah.
if we,
Hopeful.
yeah, it's very hopeful.
Yeah.
So that would be, pairing that with the oysters and clams that we already have in the water would be bringing back like the total fisheries in the local waters.
And my concern is maintaining that equilibrium that we've worked so hard to build.
Right.
So I just want to make sure we don't, start sliding backwards.
I mean,
Sure.
It would be better to put 50,000 clams that could survive in a sanctuary than
Oh yeah,
then 300,000 that
no,
are going
no,
to
no doubt,
be crab food.
no doubt. So
I mean-
winter them over.
Yeah,
And,
I mean,
get
one
a
of the
bigger
things that I've
size.
noticed in Shinnecock the last 5 years are the eider ducks that have taken up, residency during the winter.
Mhm.
Those ducks literally will wipe out a clam seed bed in no time. Clams
Really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
You get 700 or 800 eider ducks. Yeah, they're pretty proficient at mopping everything up.
It's like putting a bowl of M&Ms on the table in front of me.
Yeah.
Gone.
All right, so oysters then. This kind of gets to like tricky because so if you wanted to continue the spout on shell with individual oysters, with last year we weren't able to really deliver what you guys were hoping for with the spout
How
on
was
shell.
what was the spat per shell? Did you get an estimate of what it was last run around? Like how many per shell it was?
So the other part of my role is doing like more of the restoration, education, outreach stuff through the Back to the Bays
Well,
initiative.
that's where I got the idea.
And so whenever I do, and at all these stewardship sites for the Back to the Bays program, like we have oyster reefs that we start, and I make sure that we get counts at planting, and then I monitor later. I like snorkel, do quadrant surveys, count them then, measure them, and I keep doing that. So that's something, I mean, I could possibly look at some of my numbers. I think what Greg took possibly came from a tank that I ended up using for my Back to the Bays stuff, and you could assume
Just
the
an
same
estimate.
numbers.
Yeah.
It's usually about, we go for about like 10.
10
per
to
shell.
20. Yeah.
That's so like
And
when
how
they
did-
eventually grow.
And the set rate on the bay scallops worked? Was that did we ever use the bay scallop shell or the scallop shell, or did you guys end up using? Because we talked about the bay scallop shell because we could
breaks apart.
breaks apart. Did we ever use those or no?
Not
No,
usually.
okay.
It's yeah.
I think we don't use the base scalp shell normally because they eventually, when you put them in the bag, put them in the setting tank, is that the scalp shell is really like the pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you lose that
So you lose
interstitial
the surface
space
area.
for
Yeah.
the setting to occur.
So you use the skimmer clam shells, or
It's either
Hard
the surf
clam
clams
and
or
yeah,
oysters.
hard clam, surf clam, and oyster.
I was just, you said you use around what would be the average set on a skimmer clam shell in your tank?
I don't think we've looked at shell species set rate.
Because I know we put a bunch of skimmer clam shells in mecox a few years ago, and I think it was 2 years afterwards the oysters set on them, and I counted them. I would say like on average would be like 15 to 20 oysters set in each individual shell, which I thought was pretty good for a wild set.
I know
Yes.
that Norman Bloom, like those guys, because they take the shell from the shore every year and they set them out on historical set sites, and anything below 10 is not like productive in their mind.
Okay.
So like less than 10 on a set per shell is kind of like deemed as a lot of times they'll dredge the shell back up. And
Well, that's interesting because, like, when I've done my monitoring, I found that no matter what it started with, the number of larvae per shell it started with, once I go back for the second season monitoring, third season, on average, it's 2 to 3 adult oysters.
Oh no,
per
I'm
shell.
saying the set. I'm saying the larval. When larval
I know,
set
so I'm
on
saying
it, yeah. So
it doesn't really matter if you start with 10 or 2 larvae set on a shell. One shell typically doesn't support
No,
more
if
than
yeah.
a handful, so it's,
Yeah.
they always
they always
outcompete.
outcompete, or yeah.
Yeah.
Are you seeing losses after like year 4 and 5 in all your oyster reefs?
That's a very good question, but I have not been doing my monitoring for that long.
Gotcha.
I only recently started, and there was no clear monitoring protocol established for Cornell.
But I mean,
That's
how
what I'm
does
working on.
how does the jamming? I'm just trying to, because the problem with the shell is volumetrically it becomes a lot. So like in the flupsies, it becomes, I'm guessing,
Oh yeah,
a
we
hindrance
don't
for the amount that
we
you
don't
grow,
do spout
yeah.
and shell and flupsies, so
you
we
just
do
bring
the
them out
set
in bags
tanks.
and set.
Yeah, either trays or bags. A couple different methods there, but yeah, usually they're around average 10 millimeter. Like the spat is 10 millimeter when they're put out, versus the 25 plus millimeters shell height of individual oysters, but that come out of the flupsy system.
I personally like the shell just because it's like guaranteeing that there's a possibility that you have a bunch of oysters in a close proximity to promote a spawn for future generations within the bag. So, I mean,
an alternative solution, I was telling Mike this in the truck, I had reached out to our contacts at the DC to see what kind of special permit, if any, is required for putting down blank shell. So not spat on shell, just because our shell recycling program is thriving. We have excess shell. What if we put down cured blank shell, and then potentially we could put down then the individual oysters on top of that.
I mean, I always wanted to
reinforced
try that in
substrate.
mecox because, I mean, basically that's like, but then you have the problem with the relay part of it. That you wouldn't be able to remove those shells from mecox until it becomes harvestable water if you wanted to move them. So you wouldn't be able to move them until December 1st.
Moving them sounds tedious.
Well, unless they stayed in bags. Unless you kept them in bags, kind of like your set bags is actually like catching a set.
Is that how Greg deployed the spout and shell this past season?
No, you guys caught the set. I don't know. I mean,
No, we put them in quantum.
Quantity.
yeah,
Loose.
quantum.
Loose.
Yeah, loose. No, but I'm saying like you could catch the set in mecox within the bagged shell, and then remove them bagged, and then plant them. It's just like a cheat. I mean,
Using mecox because
using mecox as
Sure.
as basically your set tank for all intents and purposes.
Well, yeah, you have less. It's less reliable, I think, that way. But I guess I was just thinking, the reason I proposed maybe we could trial putting down in some of these areas like that you were looking to put down spout and shell, instead of spout and shell, blank shell, then some individual oysters on top of that reinforced substrate. Mostly because, honestly, Mike's hatchery doesn't really have the ability to produce massive amounts of spout and shell.
The set tanks. You don't have enough set tanks.
And then-
basically.
I thought about doing exactly that. And I've also wondered if you can mix in like slate or something else that's calcium carbonate based.
That might be an issue with DEC.
Probably.
That would be my
I know
guess.
Blue Points used to use bluestone,
But we also
but that becomes
plenty
a
of
DEC
shells, so
issue.
why,
Yeah.
Yeah, stick with what you got.
so
just
that's
a
kind
couple
of might
of
be a
adults.
nice happy medium of putting down the blank shell, assuming I can get that. It sounded like it wouldn't be a problem. They just asked me about like where I would want to do this and how thick the shell would be. But then you're getting larger oysters, more viable oysters, rather than the 10 millimeter spat. You're getting larger individual oysters onto the reinforced substrate. Just something to ponder. I don't know.
You have to worry then about blank shell like being dissipated or smothered.
I don't know.
Mm-mm.
Never done it.
Yeah, I'm gonna try it too. I've actually secretly wanted to do it in little patches over.
Okay.
Initially, it would settle down somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
Storms, if you're like on a winded beach where you get a lot of wave action, it would settle.
Mm-hmm.
But so do the oysters that are on it. So they, the oysters aren't on top of the bottom. They're actually settled in there, and all you see is that little lip around there. And if you ever dove on an oyster,
Do they hurt?
yeah.
They hurt when you step on them because the wild ones go straight up in the air like
Funny
this.
use.
Yeah.
So maybe another thing for you guys to consider wanting from us as an alternative to the spout on shell. Or we could integrate specific sites into like more of that back to the bays, process that we follow. I'm just taking a note here.
I think we're just asking about, is the 100 cubic feet okay? That number of spat on shell.
Oh, right. So that's what you had agreed to in last year's Exhibit A, 100 cubic feet of spat on shell oysters. We were only able to deliver 20 cubic feet.
Let's try for 100 cubic feet if you think you can pull it off. If you have enough set tanks.
So
Yeah, we were just, last year was about like timing of things within the hatchery.
Do you need more big set tanks?
I mean, we would also need
I might know where
entirely
there's a couple of them.
more staff. We would
Whole new
need
facility.
more. Yeah.
Do everything.
I'm just, I might be able to, ask.
I mean, are they still at the college?
Well, some of the fish markets around too.
The Tollisons and all that.
Yeah, I think so.
Because like the 100 feet was doable. It's just that things got kind of like, because we're doing other production stuff. Plus
Yeah.
things
What are
from
you
Stony
doing?
Brook and everything.
Which is first? Which is the first run?
We spawn clams first.
Yeah.
We did that last year with success. We wanted to do that again this year. We were saying first clam spawn sometime in March. No, yes.
End of March.
End of March, yeah. And then we have to do some clam spawns for a research project, and then move on to oysters, and then scallops in May.
April, May.
What is the time period for the spot-on shell oysters to be spawned and then put in water? Can we shorten up that process, being once they've set on the shells? Can we like put them into Quantic Bay, say instead of, I don't know, when you put them in October, maybe put them in August, or would they be?
Free your system up.
It's
Once they set.
the one of the hurdles is the supply of eyed larvae, and so yeah, like
It works best for like a hatchery to set oysters in like on spat on shell, say like in April through May and June, and then like once you put them in the water and get them growing, the oysters grow so fast.
Yeah.
They're dime size or whatever.
I like to keep
In a
them
hurry.
in a tank for 4 weeks, but you don't have to.
No, I'm just trying to figure out how we can make this.
Yeah, give you more production
Yeah,
spaces.
basically, you get a
basically,
spawn in April, and then you get the tanks freed up, and then you could do like a June spawn, so you can actually have 2 batches of spat on shell, if logistically with time, if it would work out, and we could move them.
Because I think we could do like the 100 cubic feet, in that spawn in like April-ish or so.
Okay.
And then they're set in May and growing through June into July,
Yep.
and then ready to deploy.
Okay.
So you okay? So you definitely still want the spat on shell.
Yeah.
All right.
We currently have $35,000 budgeted for this year, just FYI.
Oh, you do. That's good. That's good to
That's,
know.
that's our total
You
amount.
can't put it out of the bag yet. We gotta squeeze them all in there. Come on, we gotta let them sweat.
It's a lot more
You
than
can't
this,
just
so.
come out like, how are you gonna make a deal like that?
Is that for fish stock? Yeah, we don't. Come on.
No, it's not for fish stock.
Well, I mean, that was
Shellfish
the
stock.
other. Thank you, Jessica. That was
Yeah.
one of the other
Yeah.
reasons we were here is to like try to
this
get
was a lot more than
budget.
that. So I was just
Yeah.
You've got to work with the
I think it
budget.
was 28,000 last year. I don't even remember what it
So
was.
yeah, so 2023 you paid 37,000. 2024 31,198. And then
Did you make up the difference on the with the oysters with standard set oysters with the?
right, exactly. So that's what this the 2024 Exhibit A I
Yeah.
had with the red is like what we actually planted versus what you asked for.
We had some
And
in
the value.
Tiana that we put oysters in, regular oysters in Tiana.
Right.
And I kind of like that project. That's an excellent area for.
Well, that has
It's a user
that
groove.
has
It's
substrate
hard
on the
bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it has shell. It has
And the flow,
Yeah.
the water
Yes.
rips through there.
and
Yes.
it's going to complement the colleges.
So I don't mind.
Yes.
I don't mind doing another singles there again. I think that would be kind of like proactive.
It would be proactive.
So individual and SO and spat and shell. Okay. Okay. So yeah, just finally, and I know you guys, we should I don't want to keep you too long. So this other, like this contract thing, it's different from what Greg had shared with me before he left. But this is actually just based on one that I just worked on Shelter Island with Shelter Island on, for trying to get like a 5-year agreement. Like, so what would change is the Exhibit A, like the actual like deliverables that you want each year. But just so that, and it may not be as much of a problem with you guys, but it was a big hurdle with Shelter Island, is having to go through this process every year of like going through the town board approval for money spent, and I'm spacing on the word that is used for when you have to get like official
Procurement policy?
all right, something, yeah. And it ended up being like the payments were delayed every time, and it would just be
Well,
nice
that's-
to be able to get like
yeah.
payments at the beginning of the years, and like understanding in the beginning of the year what the
Okay.
deliverables are.
Let me go that far about payments. The only reason our payments are delayed is because you don't send us the bill at the
Well,
end of the.
Right,
and-
so
and then
I'm trying to
we've been very.
shift to a more
Yeah.
organized
It
process.
was not our fault.
Unfortunately,
not
there's
suggesting that.
consistency in bureaucracy in terms of creating red tape that delays virtually anything.
Yeah.
And you've been dealing with the trustees long before I was on here, Cornell and the Shellfish Restoration. So,
Okay.
we've always been very good partners, and we've always paid on time. We always have these conversations for the public
Right, so-
to understand what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Yeah.
So I think it's really
All
important.
right, so you want to keep it to like an annual, like revisiting, or like as opposed to like the 5-year.
Well, I like to have these. Next time we have a session here, and you come, I'd like to have a little bit of an update on the spat on shell, how they survived. Maybe look at some of the oysters we put in Tiana to get a survival rate and how they're doing there. To make sure that what we're doing, working with you, getting the oysters and clams and shellfish, making sure that they're living and they're surviving. That to me is the important part. I mean, you could put millions of shellfish out in the bay and have a flock of birds eat them up on you, or a brown tide come along. So I think doing these projects on a yearly term and revisiting them with a little bit at the end of that term gives us a better big look at the next year's.
Right. I mean, different trustees have different concerns
Yeah.
that pop up,
Sure.
as you're going. And I think as long as we, here we are at the end of January, right, having this discussion.
I know, I panicked when I got the email through Greg from you being like, we need to have contracts like put out like before the end of December, or like before the middle of December. I was like, what? So we're already behind the ball. And
Time flies.
So just I don't know. So I don't know the next.
Get me a contract to review, and we'll review it and get it on for signature.
Okay.
There you go.
Are anything's going to be delivered in 2026 though? Like I see on this page, it says.
Right.
That's
So I
something-
guess the way I was thinking is we would have this like standing agreement that we could we knew that we could budget every year for the next 5 years. Like, okay, this is definitely happening, and then the thing that would change annually is that Exhibit A, like the actual deliverables that you want.
We just can't
I
pay
can- I- we
anything
can- we
for
can work off
2025
of-
and 20 like. If it has to get delivered in 2025.
You want that
Right,
contract?
yeah.
or-
Yeah.
Oh,
I
but
can
then
work
the
on
overwinter. How do we do that? With
When would
overwinter
they get
plans?
delivered? We have until like mid-February.
Wait, what?
Sorry.
Get us that contract that you initially talked about, the 5-year.
I know what you're
I'll
saying,
have
Jess.
our
We
attorney
have
look
to
it
Because
over.
these
Okay.
are live,
We can-
these are
we can
live
craft
animals.
language
We can't pay.
For a 5-year agreement.
not a
with-
pickup truck.
With parameters
Right.
that where in December you have to give us
Yep.
for the next year,
Yeah.
so that we can include it and incorporate it in by reference that way.
Yeah, that's basically what I have
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
But I need something that would be an actual document that we potentially could sign, so I can get it on for signature that way.
Wouldn't the dollar amount change year to year?
Huh?
Wouldn't the dollar amount change year to year?
Yeah, but we can do a 5-year agreement with a requirement that the next year's parameters and costs will be submitted by such and such a date,
For a
and
review.
just bring it in by reference. That's all.
Yep.
Jessica had an excellent question.
Yes.
Well, sorry, I have like a little bit of a cold. We can't pay anything until the actual things are delivered.
Got it.
So, for
Okay, so the
example, for
advance.
2025,
Got it.
if this date in 2026 where you have the X's, is past like mid-February,
Right.
I can't pay the invoice for
Okay.
2025 money.
Yeah.
I only have
So, yeah, it
until
needs-
February, like
it needs-
mid-February, to
yeah.
pay
Yeah, then
for
we-
2025.
So
You
we
guys
would have to
you guys
crash the
have to
resolution.
So, like,
timely
then
billing
it's
so
gonna
that we can
shift
do it within
everything.
our fiscal years.
So I would
Got
need
it.
to know what that date
It
is.
creates an accounting
Nightmare.
Okay.
resolutions, put the money surplus, and reallocate it. It's
The town won't pay bills until
Yeah.
everything is delivered.
So
Juggling.
it sounds like we should keep it to
I
the.
think so.
Yeah. All right.
I think it
That's
makes more
fine.
sense.
juggling
Yeah.
chainsaws.
But we'll be
On fire.
Okay.
we'll
Yeah.
be on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay. And yes,
We'll create a system.
I like that. Okay. So
And-
it sounds like we just need to actually just like decide on what it is that you want this year.
And normally at the end of that year, Greg would come in and give us a little overview of where they planted, what they did, the survival, like,
Yeah,
so we
a
can
little-
put it out to the public so they can
Absolutely.
understand, so.
We can definitely do that.
Yeah.
Little accountability report.
Yep.
Exactly. Okay, so you said that you had up to 35,000 to work with. We can go back and talk about numbers based on what you have said so far that you definitely want. But you can always like reach back out to us if you discuss
Well,
it.
we
and
also
change your
need
mind.
like an estimate. You guys have to get your heads together. And
Right,
figure
exactly.
Out how
So
many,
we'll
how many
kinda work
clams you really want
backwards.
to deal with,
Yeah.
and then we'll kind of like adjust with the other species.
At least you got input from the trustees, and you kind of
Yeah,
got a
no,
little
that's
better
great.
visibility now.
Yes, very good.
And the base scallops were just probably standard, what we had gotten in the past. Are you gonna get the disease resistance ones for us?
I mean,
Those are the ones I'm looking for.
I know that's what everyone wants. So, but each year gets a little closer. So.
Well, let's hope, yeah.
Plus the money back guarantee.
I'm gonna reach out to you guys too because I want to try that blank shell reef.
Cool.
In Bridges and like have a couple spots. In it.
Great. Yeah, that would be good. Definitely reach out because I need to actually get back to the DEC with like the locations that I want to do this. I want to try a spot in Shelter Island, a spot or two. It would be nice to compare.
Should I
And the-
reach out to
and
them
the-
too, maybe? See if that's a thing. Like if we need a permit for that.
No, I'm already on that. I already started that conversation. So yeah.
And the brood stock for the scallops, are you gonna get them from Shinnecock Bay, not the Peconics, being the Peconics have a lot more
It's-
susceptible
It's, well, we're also, everything
merchants?
we do with, it's gonna be mostly Mauritius.
Okay.
Probably,
Yeah.
This year, working with Harrison, who does most of the scallop research
Okay.
part of it. So what I do is I work with him also with producing what he needs for what Stony Brook needs for their
Okay.
research too.
Genetic stuff. Yeah.
But a lot of it's been last year was Mauritius stock.
Okay.
They did well.
No, we know they did well.
Yeah.
This
We're
year
very
too, or
sure.
just 2 years ago. It seemed like it was a little bit quieter this year.
They had a run up there, but nothing like they did the year before.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. Is it was 2 years ago just kind of a
Well, they had it 3 years ago too. They've had scallops up there for,
Yeah. But the stuff that we have, like overwintering in our long lines, are like looking really nice from last year. And
oh, good.
But it was interesting though. I was talking to after we had when Somos came in with their data about the larval cycles of like when they come from Western Shinnecock, and then that's what sets because it's the 30-day life cycle of the larvae, and then what's happening in Shinnecock is they're going out the inlet, but interestingly, working with some of the baymen, we're finding that the clams that are leaving Shinnecock are actually what's setting up Mauritius, because it goes out of the ocean and it has the 30 days, and that's what's being sucked in the air. So it's the same with like the steamer set that we're finding in Shinnecock is based on whether meacock sets. And if the inlet's open in the summertime when the steamer's set, that's what's catching this. So the ocean inlets have kind of been like forgotten. So when you're thinking about your sites for spat on
Yeah.
shell, you have to be like, okay, where is the
larval
bulk of
retention,
the oysters that is going to like end up on the shell? Like it's an interesting dynamic.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Actually, just back to what you were saying too about your scallops in the long lines. Have the scallops in the long lines, especially out in Orient Harbor, have they been dying during the die-offs in the Peconics these last 5 years, or are they surviving?
they did when we had our. Remember when we had our massive? Was that 2 years ago now? When we had that big issue, when they died earlier, like in our system.
That was before we were using like
Right, that was
stock.
before like the Mauritius thing. So like this was now, I guess, 3 years. Yeah.
So
oh my God,
are the
it must-
Mauritius the Mariches scallops have better survivability in Orient Harbor in the
Yes.
lantern nets than the prior years, or you know?
I believe that's what
That's-
Harrison was saying.
Yeah, that's more of a question for Harrison,
Yeah.
because he deals directly
The
with
Merchants
research.
Bay scallops are 50% or greater genetic southern bay scallop, where the ones that are in Peconic are 50% or way less southern bay scallops. So it seems like the scallops with the genetics that are southern bay scallops have survived much better, and especially in the South Shore Estuary. That was the meeting, the Peconic Estuary. I don't know if you were on it, but that was a very interesting meeting.
Yeah, where Fossum and
Yes,
Harrison
yes.
and Tettleback was there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
And have you guys been in contact with that fellow that up on the Cape with this bay scallop still? Are you guys still working with him? Because the Cape had a banner bay scallop year this year, like beyond. What
Yeah, I
they've
don't know.
ever
That would
had.
be it's like Harrison probably.
Because I don't know what genetics they're using is what I'm getting at. I didn't know if they've got a southern strain mixed in as well.
We're, like this past year and this year again, we're getting some from Martha's Vineyard as part of like another line to test against like our stock and stuff like that. So I think
Be
that's
curious.
being looked into.
Yeah, because I mean, but that's northern, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
Are we working north? Okay, cool.
Did you want us to put our names down?
Yes, that would be helpful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, thank
God
you very
bless.
much for your time, and we'll
Thank
be
you
in touch.
for your time. Appreciate all you do.
This is council. That's my email address on that.
Okay, thank you.
Joseph,
Yeah, I wanted to refer this to council, about,
East End Explorer.
Eastern Explorers, yes.
Okay,
So,
if I could just have one of your cards, that would be great. This is gonna be quick. East End Explorer, submitted an application to us. Basically, what they're just needing is just ramp permits. Insurance is right, they have an AED on site, all the questions about their, being licensed by the state or the county have been answered. They are fully vetted by the Suffolk County, who would be under Department of Health, would be monitoring them. The application is ready to process and issue, so
Okay.
we're finished with it.
Thank you very much, Joe. We appreciate you looking into it. And, I know there was a lot of questions through this process, so.
Yeah, they were very helpful. Any questions that I had, they got back to me immediately and provided whatever documentation I needed, so.
have they targeted what areas are gonna be utilizing, or not really?
It's gonna be town-wide, but
It's
they
more of a-
understand that there are constraints at Conscience Point they have to obey.
Okay.
Well, I talked to the person that's running it, and he specifically said it's each one of the days that they go out, it's wind and weather, and situations might come up where it's too windy to be on the South Shore. They're going to go on the North Shore. So it's a day-to-day look at what they're going to do.
But I explained to him about Conscience Point, the impact of that it's a shared facility, that he can't he can't monopolize it for parking and everything, but
Yep.
we're good.
Yep.
I have one
And I
question.
think I reiterated it, and so did past
well, plus
trustee.
he's had some experience with,
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
right?
I just have one quick question. The cover sheet says all trustee properties. So what is the license agreement gonna say? What do you guys want it to say?
We just issue a regular ramp permit. We'll be fine. He doesn't need any specific facility. That's
So he's not getting a license agreement?
no. It won't be a traditional license agreement. Just simply a ramp permit will be all he'll need.
Okay.
Okay.
He's not going to be operating on any of the beaches like the surf schools and
No.
stuff. So
So it's a commercial ramp permit? So
Yeah.
I'll return this to him?
Yeah.
And just tell him that to apply for a commercial ramp permit?
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
If you want, I'll send him an email
That'd be
before you
great.
mail it back to him.
That'd be great, Joe. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. All right, we ready?
Mhm.
Let's go to the general permit applications for determination. First one, 32 Quaganeck Lane, land use ecological. James, if you could bring that up and give us a, hello, how are you?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
All right, let's sign in. So you want to do a dock off the existing bulkhead.
Yes.
A 4x11 fixed open grade platform is proposed off the bulkhead elevated a minimum of 4 feet. A 3x18 ramp leading to a 6x20 float parallel to the bulkhead off the platform to the south. 4 8-inch pilings. And then I guess another 4 to support the float. And you want to use chocks to make sure you're 24 feet above the
bottom,
The
yes.
bottom.
24 inches.
24 inches, I'm sorry.
Yes.
That'd be pretty high. Yeah, high data. 24 inches.
Yes, correct.
How's it? Is this in a canal or is this in a?
At Doug Canal?
It's in a canal. I don't think he's
It's not going to affect. Oh, there's no.
No, it's about 52 feet across.
he's staying
It's only 11 feet out.
close. Here's the
11 foot with an 11-foot boat or something like that.
Yeah.
Or is it going to be like a 40-footer on here?
could be
I just don't want to, impede
Caught
other
with the
people.
canal, yeah.
with a
Yeah,
7
because the deepest water is right along.
with a
The
17
deepest water of that canal is right along that dock.
with a 17-foot beam.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at the soundings, like
Yeah.
that the channel is basically close to his bulkhead, probably because the bulkhead's there. But I just want to make sure you're not impeding anybody else.
I mean,
that's
can you pinch it in?
all. Really?
No, it's about as close as it can be and kind
So-
of matched up to the dock to the north as far as
Right.
impeding.
So he should be fine.
Yeah, it's pretty tight.
I think exactly. I mean, if he's
I mean, this is the deep water where everybody
Yep.
probably goes in and out.
Yep.
This is shoaled up pretty good across the way.
I mean, the likelihood of a very large vessel
That's all I care about.
is not very likely, but
Alright.
so he probably is consistent with what is there.
Yeah, that's consistent.
Yes.
Yes.
I think you're meeting the tests, right? What do you think, James? Meeting the blue book?
Yourself.
I think we're good. You guys are good, Joe? Matt?
Good.
You good? Yeah, I think you've done as best as you can with that one.
Yeah, thank you.
And the plans are stamped, so we don't.
Do you have anything else on here?
Yeah, Matt's area. He's
Yeah,
got one.
we're visiting the one for
Okay.
Main Street in Queog.
Oh, 551.
Yeah. Since spoke last night, we got the DEC permit.
Yeah, and the conservation board emailed us and said they didn't have any issues with it.
Okay. So I didn't know if there were any concerns or anything with this one.
Yeah.
You want to bring it up?
About it already, yeah.
That's one on the west side of Quantic, right?
This is the one they were hitting a dock, right?
Yes.
And there was like wetlands behind it.
Yep.
And there was
The DEC issued a tidal wetlands permit, so it's all tidal wetlands behind it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, there was the dock coming out, and there was the long boardwalk over.
Yeah, the concern was the boardwalk over that
Right.
large marsh area that we requested the
Conservation.
conservation board, and they had no issues with it. They had, I guess, issued a conservation permit for it. So
Advance it? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So you're square for today, for now anyway, right?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
and the plans
too.
are stamped, so we
He's good. Okay. So we then have shoreline bulkheading. Lynn A. Jamie, 45 Shinnecock Road. Got the brains of the operation here. Right?
Happy New Year,
Happy New Year.
trustees. Feel better, Jess?
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so 45 Shinnecock, you're revisiting because we wanted to add plantings. And
Right, so we're
we
ripping out,
did,
removing an existing bulkhead, right? 80 linear feet
yes.
with,
This is
With
the
a
one that
buffer.
already had a ton of beach grass on it.
No, she had a little bit
Yeah.
back towards
Farther,
the house.
Yeah.
So now we went back and we revised the plan so that she'll do it right behind the bulkhead in the sand
10,
buffer.
10 feet with the
Right.
12 inches on center.
Right, so we
American.
added that to the plan, and also the fact that we weren't raising the elevation, so you wanted that in as well.
So
So
you-
I updated the cover sheet and the,
I don't see the height
Please don't tell me that. On the cover sheet?
On the cover sheet.
I might have,
Another one?
New
if I don't
construction.
have it with me, I'll email it right over to you.
Yeah, it doesn't,
Otherwise, everything else.
But it was
was
supposed to.
Changed.
it's not,
I'll have this one.
yeah, I don't see it.
Did I add the plantings to that
I have
revised?
yeah, I have the plantings.
I just didn't list the elevation?
Yeah, it's up here. I can zoom in.
No, don't point out my faults, James.
Otherwise, everything's
Let's
good.
not
and then-
zoom in on
and
those.
the plans are stamped, so if you guys wanna move forward pending the.
And I do have the cover sheet.
Up
It's,
to you guys.
I brought the wrong one. Unless you want me to adjust this one right now and give it to me.
Well, what do you want to do, James? I mean, if this is just gonna indicate that you're gonna be leaving your elevations exactly the same.
Yes, it was.
So we could advance it,
Yeah,
pending receipt of that. I
yeah,
don't
no
see
problem.
holding it up for
I
that.
have it. I thought I sent it. I brought the wrong copy.
You're good.
It's not gonna help you.
All right, so advance it pending receipt. Get
Yes,
that
you'll
over to
get it
James. 'Cause
today.
everything else, you know,
Perfect.
the buffer
Okay.
plan is fine.
Yes.
Do you have anything else before us?
I do. I have one with Trustee Warner for 12 Barrow Place, if you want to discuss it now.
While you're here.
I appreciate that.
Some notes on here about.
Oh, no.
The eelgrass, and do you have any maps? of
I
the-
have that, and I could send it to James right now.
Yeah,
I had it, the SAV map for the eelgrass.
yeah,
It does not, this, if you want to take a look at it, it's the field work that he did, and he also did a map study, the consultant. So I can email that directly to James right now if you want me
Is
to.
that a copy? Is that
Well,
a
this
copy
is-
of everything? Can we
Yeah,
have
not
that?
the maps. You can have this one, sure.
Can we
Stamp
we
it
can
in.
Stamp it in. Yes.
Sure.
because the dock to the west of it, I believe it's a couple of properties, we've held it very short because there's all eelgrass along the beach.
Right, and that's why we had it mapped out, because
Yeah.
the Army Corps got back to me, so
Yeah,
I
because there
had
are-
that
I know
completed.
there are patches, so,
Right, and they're listed on there, but they're not in where the pier is. But they are further seaward from the end of that pier.
normally we would hold the pier line just inshore of those patches. So that's
Okay.
something that the board is, I'd like to
Gotta get a
discuss
stamp.
a little further.
Sure.
You know, that needs to be stamped.
Stamp it in. You gonna hold this one?
I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
see
gonna hold-
Shinnecock Beach Road on here either. Can you add that?
Okay.
On the survey?
Survey.
The plan or survey? Whatever it is. I wonder if it's on the survey. Maybe it's on
Maybe it's on the survey and he didn't pick it up on the plan?
looks like it might
I think it is. Yes, Shinnecock Beach Road. I guess he didn't carry that over.
be. Yeah, just.
But it's on the-
carry it on.
So you want that carried over to the plans too?
That's up to the trustees, but
Yes.
we
If it's on
normally
the
do
survey?
It should be.
Yes. I like to have it on there so we can reference where the dock is. going
Absolutely.
to,
that. Is there, usually you guys ask for a distance between the walkway
Yeah.
and the stairs.
Yeah, we need that. I mean, I have a 12-foot repass there, so that would be what we would be asking for.
Distance from,
Because there's a stairway down to the beach, and then
right.
just south of that is where the,
Walkway to the
into-
ramp, to the 4x10
yeah.
ramp. You want the distance.
it should be 12 feet. That way we can get a piece of
Yep.
machinery down there if any work needs to be done on it.
I believe it is because he staked it out for you.
Okay.
But I'll have that added to the plans.
Yeah, we have-
Okay.
Well, I mean, once we get the site map.
The
together,
report?
Then I
Sure.
could pass it around to the board, and then
Of
we
course.
could discuss that a little further, okay?
Let me just see if I might have it with me. If you just bear with me for a
You
second.
gave me
I gave you that with the, I might have the photo, the maps. No. I just emailed it to myself this morning, so I'll forward that to James for you so you can review it.
All right, so that's on hold, right?
Okay, so Shinnecock
So this
Beach
is
Road
yours.
added to the plans, the
Yep.
distance from the walkway to the 4x10 ramp,
Yep.
12 feet, and the SAV mapping.
Yep. That's yours.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
so you got one, you owe him, and then the other
I-
one's on hold.
Yes. A lot of owing going on today. on a Monday.
Well, that's
Not
a
good
little
when you
down
go.
the road. Yeah, it will, yes. In the same area.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you,
I don't-
Thank you.
I don't wanna get
Enjoy
going
your
on that
day.
until we get. No, no.
Next is Enviro permits for Mary E. Held, 41 Rampasture Road. Hello, Clay. How are you today?
Kristen does well, doesn't she?
Kristen does very well.
Yeah. Guess who trained her?
Really?
Yeah, you said that they have permits. Does very well.
All right.
I'm ready.
You ready? 205 feet of bulkhead with shore guard 425. You're looking for a foot and an 8-foot return with 3 safety ladders.
That's it.
You want to bring in 50 cubic yards of clean fill, 10-foot wide buffer planted with salt tolerant plants, 12 inches on center, with all non-treated.
We had reviewed this, I think, last work session, and we had a list that he provided us with all the changes, removed jet ski float and all floats, he did that. Added a 12-inch increase, as you guys discussed, to the bulkhead height on here, and then add plantings behind, so that was our list from last work session.
That's what we needed to get this to advance for
That's
this
what was
meeting.
provided.
And he's provided, so we've gone through this substantially, and that's what the concerns were of the board, and you've answered those concerns.
Okay.
You satisfied with that? Joseph?
Yeah, that's good.
Good, Edward?
Yep.
All right.
And the plans are stamped, so we're
Yeah. Yeah, so you did exactly what, you don't have anything else today?
No.
See that?
No, I'm slowing down.
You see that? You're doing as good as Kristen here today.
Yeah.
She taught you well.
She taught you well. Have a great one.
She started in the bank. Used to do all my accounts.
Okay,
Did well there.
okay.
Take it easy.
Have a great one.
You too.
Take care, Clay.
All right, so that's in advance, and I got Trustees, Secretary Treasurer Warner here with David Salzman.
David Salzman, 50 Hawthorne Road.
Susanna.
Susanna Consultants.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Didn't we do a project here like
10 years ago.
8 to 10 years ago? Yes.
It was 2015.
Okay.
It's the exact same
Yep.
project. So since then, part of the project was placing sand and beach grass on the adjacent town-owned
Okay.
property.
Yes.
And over the last 2, I mean, it did well.
No, it did.
Until recently. So they really just want to repeat what they did previously. The rocks that are sort of at the end of the bulkhead return have collapsed as the beach next to it has receded, or the bluff next to it has receded. So the idea is just to take those rocks and put them back up there. More beach grass, more sand.
Cover. Did you have any correspondence with the Conservation Board?
We've submitted an application over 6 months ago to the Conservation Board. I'd hoped by this morning to have some.
Well,
Response.
did you submit an application the last time we did this project? Did we? Yes.
Yeah.
Even-
So I believe it's both jurisdictions.
Yeah, it's Shinnecock
It's
Beach
Shinnecock
Road.
Beach Road.
Yes.
We're landward of high water, so
Yep.
it's Conservation Board
Right,
jurisdiction.
both jurisdictions.
It's exactly what we did previously.
Yep.
So I'm waiting to hear back from Marty. He hasn't had a chance to get out to the property.
You wanna wait?
I mean,
It's about a 6-month wait at this point.
I
You good with
remember the last time we did this, it was, I think, just after Sandy or around that time when the town property had suffered a lot of erosion, so
Right.
it's similar, so, and the town property and the town's gonna benefit, so.
I think it's a great project.
So it was 2015, you say?
Yep.
Yes,
So it was a
exactly.
few years after Sandy.
Yeah, so Sandy was 2012, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But that whole stretch got terribly
Beat up. What do you want to do?
I'm good to move it forward. We've approved it in the past, and it's the identical same project, so.
Which hopefully would expedite it with everybody else if it was already an existing project.
I would think it would be going a little
Yeah,
faster,
Right.
but
I'm good with that. You go with that, Matthew?
Yes, sir.
Joseph?
Okay.
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
so we're moving ahead.
We don't need stamp plans for this, right?
No, it's just resetting rocks in basically the same spot.
Joseph, you good with that?
Yep.
I mean,
I'm-
Joe Senior. Oh.
Yeah.
You good
No,
with
I'm
that?
good. If Ed's good, I'm good.
No plans, no stamp plans.
Any sand with that one?
Yeah, they're gonna put sand, no, they got sand on their own.
Okay.
It's a good project.
Okay.
And it's exactly what we had permitted, 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I knew it was a
Wanted to
while
make sure
ago.
because of Shinnecock
I
Beach
knew it was a
Road.
long, I knew it was a long time ago.
You have something else
I
with
have
us?
Rosen, which is a few items down on the agenda.
Yes, go ahead.
Can we do that one?
Yes.
Okay, this is a, I think pretty simple
This is yours,
bulkhead.
Joe?
Yeah,
24,
24 Landing Lane.
Mhm.
And the whole area is bulkheaded. It's been bulkheaded for a long time. It's a pretty simple replacement. I think we're
Yeah.
6 inches higher, which will match
Okay.
the adjacent bulkheads.
that was the question I had. It's going to be the same height. but-
Yes, yeah. The adjacent bulkheads are 6 inches higher, so we're going to match that.
And what's the plan? Do you have the plantings?
Beach grass, 10 feet landward.
Got it listed in the cover sheet.
Yes. I believe so.
12-inch on center and all that.
Joe, is it on the cover sheet?
I need to find it.
You see it there, James?
Yeah, revegetate 10-foot non-turf
Is it
buffer
there?
with
I
beach
see
grass.
Charlotte's shaking her head. Yes.
They found it.
Looks good, Charlotte. Meet the blue book. Dotted her I's and crossed her T's. All right.
Try.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
We got
Yeah,
good staff.
We're good, Joe? Okay,
Yeah.
we're good.
Great.
Yeah.
We just need stamp plans.
Same plans, yes.
Okay, so,
Alright. We'll get those back to you.
okay.
Looks like first coastal for me.
First Coastal, Aaron, you're up.
Surfside Drive.
285 Surfside Drive. Eva Shea Family Trust. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you today?
Really enjoyed the conversation with Cornell and looking forward to another great year with this board and the Richards Bay project. We have our second Flupsy at the Quag Village Dock. It's going to be
Okay.
fully operational this year.
Oh, good.
And so there'll be a lot more oysters in Quantuck Bay.
Plus,
You start-
you have another project
Yeah.
on today too, right? You're sticking around for the other, was it 4 Beaver Dam Road? Is that you too? Oh, that's you. I'm sorry, yeah. Yeah, but is that gonna be from a Richards Bay project? Right,
Mhm.
that's what I meant.
Yep. I'm going to say multiple is what I'm here for.
Multiple.
So thanks very much for having me this morning. The first one is 285 Surfside. So this is a very straightforward dune restoration project with a set of access stairs, and we've recently submitted the stamped engineer stamped plans. This is an area.
This is a mess. This is that house that's been. They just did a dune restoration in the spring and it disappeared. Within about 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Well, lasted that long?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The good news is, on
We're
a
pumping
related
sand.
note,
Yeah.
is that Great Lakes has been delayed, but they say January 30th it will be their first pump day.
But I have noticed, I mean, that the one blessing I will say for that piece of property is the bar, from the amount of openings we've had, is building out to protect kind of the fetch slamming into that.
Yeah, the beach is much wider.
The beach is wider, but also the outer bar is a lot bigger because
Yeah.
we've been kind of like hydraulically sucking off that flat and sag. So I think that's been kind of like making a protective.
A little wave attenuation.
Yeah,
you think,
wave
going on?
attenuation.
And that's what makes the beach
Beach
better.
wider.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I think
get
we're
some
kind of
wave
gaining.
attenuation.
Yeah,
But slowly but steadily.
Yeah, but a 1.2 million yards of sand
Yeah.
will go a long way.
All I ask is that
That'd be good.
all I ask is that any rebar exposed from this thing
Yeah.
gets lopped off.
Oh, yeah.
We asked for that the last time you guys did that. Just make sure there's no steel sticking up.
There's a lot of steel sticking up
Yeah.
here. There's a lot of old fence posts and stuff.
They provided that in the cover sheet that they're going to remove any existing exposed metal holes in the area. So.
And I'm putting a note on my cover sheet.
Well, it's all the way back to the peat bog here in places.
Yeah, it's really deep. Well, this house is way out.
This is when they build them, they should move them back.
Someday it will be moved.
Either that or it'll float, right? Because it's got a nice cement clump going all around it.
Yeah, cement does float.
Wait, you guys all good with that?
Yeah.
That's it? Yeah.
Yeah, advance it.
It needs to be taken care of.
He's got another
So
one.
when's
Let's bump down one because the channel pond might take some time. Let's do the Daniel, the
44529 Noyak Road.
49 Noyak.
Okay. Okay, so the DEC had asked us to, all right, so this is a new dock, 4529. And the DEC had asked us to revise our plan slightly to remove a proposed cantilevered bench and to increase the height to 3 feet above grade of the catwalk ramp, which required us to extend the ramp slightly landward to accommodate the increased slope, increased length on the
We
slope.
probably would have done the same with the bench, right?
Yes.
So,
And it's, as you can see from all the surrounding docks, it fits right into.
We did a pier line, I think, and it was like right within it. Yeah.
Yep,
So we're not really kind of getting crazy, which is nice.
I think all we need to do is give you stamp plans.
I do have one question because I see the minimum 4 feet or minimum. So that means when the Army Corps asks for 54 inches, are you going to go up to that?
No.
Yeah, no.
No. We're good.
And so I'm not.
These things are becoming, like skywalks.
yeah.
No,
Well, there's bridges
too
across an estuary that basically ruins everybody's view sheds and creates problems.
And it's not doing anything as far as light shading goes.
Well, and we've
It's a
got flow
ridiculous
through
argument.
decking, so you're not worried about
All-
like high tides popping
crazy.
up boards
All
and
these
stuff. Yeah.
projects where we used to have 18 and 20 inch with light penetrating deck, the grass grows right through the
Right
decking.
through the decking.
They have to cut it
Yeah.
off the decking.
I know.
So what are they accomplishing here?
I know. It's basically Fish and Wildlife telling Army Corps that's what they want, and so I'd be happy to
We
to
always,
work with you guys.
we
to
always
do-
love Fish and Wildlife. We get along so
We've
well with
already
those
wrote
guys.
letters and give
Yeah. Jeez.
material, and they said no.
Amazing.
I know.
Oops.
Yeah.
Charlotte,
We
kill
tried.
me.
We just need stamp plans.
Especially if I put it in the wrong one.
Yeah, in Mauritius Bay, they didn't want the docks elevated 3 feet because birds of prey could stay up there and eat the plovers. Remember that?
I remember
Chuck
that.
Hamilton wrote that.
So,
in
do you want to
his
go back to
letter.
yours, or do you want to go to this?
That was
one
what I
here?
was always
I wanna bump
basing
up.
everything
Oh,
on.
wait.
Here's another first question right here.
Yeah, Parsons, do you want to do yours, and we'll just do channel pond last? Is that all right?
Edward G. Kehoe.
I'm confused because it says 349 Dune Road here and it says 350 here. I guess that's because it's
It's a right of way.
Yeah, right of way.
So we're going to advance 4529.
We just need plans for that.
Yep.
one, so.
Got that.
This is that tricky one where it's the right of way extends out
Yes.
that property line.
So here's what we did. We met, I don't know, probably about a month or so ago, and went through this application. And just to refresh everybody's recollection, there were several suggestions made by the board and also in further discussion with the client. This is the original proposal we had brought to you. The second alternative was something mentioned by Trustee Marin, which was a rope and pulley system. The third thing was to enlarge the boat slip. So those were the three options that we were looking at. So after the last meeting, the applicant and I went to went out to East Beach Drive and looked at some of the pulley systems that were still in the water at that point. It was his feeling, based upon the fact that he's got grandchildren and whatnot, that really would not serve us well here. The next thing that we did was we went to the property owner, and because this board had said, is the property owner on board with this? And I mean, James, was this submitted to you, the authorization from the property owner? If not, I'll just hand it up. So was to consult with the property owner and review these alternatives with the property owner, Mr. Shallop. So we did that, and Mr. Shallop said that he really wanted to see this particular configuration. So coming back to the board, which I do recall the board said they didn't really like this configuration. But since we were asked to confer with the property owner, we did. We made this request, and so we're here to see if the board would reconsider.
This one would have to go out to public forum because we're wrestling with the whole 15-foot, 10-foot away from a neighboring property. That's why we got hung up on this one in the first place.
To that property owner on the east side?
No, we have not.
Because that's the one that.
Right now, the proposal has the boat literally right in front of the property to the west, which has the boat slip, which if he puts a substantial sized boat in there, he's not gonna be able to, it's gonna be an issue. If he goes with a 30-foot boat there, he's not gonna be able to use that dock.
Well, we tried to make a balance there of moving the floating dock offshore far enough that we could accommodate something like a 20 or 25-foot
Yeah, but
boat.
then you also got the water depth that you hit 30 inches
Yeah.
of water, which right away because
Right.
it's a
It's really a deep spot. It's unusually deep there, actually. So, on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Kehoe, and the underlying owner, Mr. Shallop, I'd like to get the board's feedback on this, and carry that back to them and see if there's something else they want to discuss.
Feedback, yeah. I mean, we're at a crossroads here just because of the. I mean, we always traditionally try and give at least 10 to 15 foot of space between an adjoining neighbor's piece of property, and this is on a right of way.
there's no room here to wiggle room unless you put a mooring out there or a stake.
Yeah. What? And this neighbor wasn't gonna let him put this dock off the other wing of the where it says bulkhead.
There, but
I think you're in the same spot you were.
Yeah.
Is what it sounds like to me.
I don't think there is a good spot.
It can't work.
You're gonna have to go back to the drawing board with.
I mean, the way our rules are right now, it would not work. This would be right in front of the extended property line to the east and right in front, over the extended property lines on both sides.
Right, so feedback is not good.
No.
And
Joseph?
on
I agree.
I agree.
Well, and as far as the alternative of enlarging the boat slip, that was something that was brought up at the last work session. Is that something that the board would then support?
I don't have a problem with enlarging the boat.
It's fine with me, yeah. I mean, if they could get them side by side, that'd be great because then one wouldn't be blocking the other. You wouldn't be putting that floating dock off.
Is that an opportunity? Is there a chance for?
Yeah, if the neighbor wants to do it. Then.
I think that it's permittable with the DEC. They typically allow us to excavate upland to create.
Absolutely,
water.
we've done that before. I think that's a better.
But it's really up to the underlying property.
Correct.
Yep.
That's the question. You think so?
I don't know. Mr. Schaub's a very reasonable guy, and he's building a new house, and so I think. I'll go back and I'll discuss this with the applicant and with the property owner and see if that's a possibility, or see if there's some other alternative they want to discuss.
I think that'd be good.
I mean, is there any way that you could put the dock off the portion where it says bulkhead?
That would be the other
Yeah,
one.
we actually had discussed that with the property owner. He liked that least of all.
Right,
It's
I
right
think-
in the middle. of
I think you need to, I think you
Yeah.
need to explore the expansion of,
Yes.
you know, the indented boat slip.
And that would
We've
create-
done those before.
And that would create more value for the property.
Yeah, I think it'd be a better project. I think you could do that, you know. It's well within your capability. Right?
That's on hold.
All right, well, I will report back, and then I will be back in front of you again at
That's
some
good.
point in the near future.
All right, so now you got one more, right?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
channel pond.
That's a hold.
Okay, so, I don't know, trustee Marin, perhaps you are better suited to bring the board up to date on this than I am. I have been following along on this multi-year saga. And it seems to me that Andrew Baird, my office, did some pretty good detective work and came up with a solution that appears to work. Which is we have increased the depth of the dredging and but narrowed the channel in response to the increase in depth to maintain the.
And that back
buffer.
flat is going to be, because the back flat is really
That's when it goes
totally
dry.
dry now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, from a
Do you have an overhead of the? Is there an overhead of the overlay of the dredge project, James? Of what they proposed.
How wide is the channel? Like 10 feet?
10 foot under the bridge, like in between the two bulkheads, and then it's going to be out over that flat and stay 3 foot away from the phragmites on either side, I believe.
So it's going to be like 25 feet wide when you get
On the back flat.
on the back flat.
Yeah. Just to take that back flat, and then it's going to be into a 10 foot
Under the bridge.
under the bridge through the two bulkheads, so that way we're not. But the one bulkhead has just.
Been
We can
replaced.
talk with Jim Wilkers here when he comes up, but I believe the bulkhead on one side
The
has
north
been.
side is just. I watched
Yeah,
it
has
get
been
replaced.
replaced.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's the that's this.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
So
either way, we'd like it right down the middle and deep as you can make it.
and it fans out at the bottom if you notice to you know basically create a nice funnel.
Yeah, it's 3 foot away from the phragmites on either side. I think
That's the
that
west
was
side of the
Marty's,
bridge, right?
Marty's
That's right.
kind of like push.
So you're good with this, Jim.
I think it's needed. I wish it was happening this year, but
So I think this is,
it's really
Good.
important. It's beneficial for everybody in the town of Southampton.
I think it's good.
As long as the DEC says go.
You got our permission.
Yeah, but it creates a water flow even when the bay's low.
Yeah, and if
Which
the
is-
pictures
which is-
that I showed you guys last time of what the water quality of Channel Pond looked like in the summer,
It was green like the
yeah,
sliders
it
and
was
stuff.
pea green. It was disgusting.
I know.
Advance it.
Advance
Waive
it,
the
send
fees.
it, get it done next year.
Historically,
town
all
project.
these channels
Yeah.
are dredged on a routine basis
I know.
over the 50s,
Well,
60s, and 70s.
Because we didn't really listen to anybody else. We just did it.
You're on TV.
It's fine. I wish we continued that.
You said waive the fees.
What's that? Wait, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
Southampton Town
waive the
project.
fees, yeah.
Triple the fees. I waived the fees.
Whoops. What are you going to do with the material? Put it on the
Well, is it triple
on
or
the beach?
Toss a coin.
I can't remember.
I think the Four Pond Society has a piece of property,
Yeah, they
and
have
Marty
a
Shea
triple
signed
it.
off on us utilizing a piece of property there
All right.
as a spoil site. As a,
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's usually the holdup on all these projects.
It's good, but it's nice clean material at least.
It's
Yes.
sand.
Yeah, beautiful. It's like great
Yeah,
air.
valuable, becoming more valuable
That-
by the moment.
By the moment, exactly.
16 code.
Give it to the other application with the house that's going to fall on the Atlantic.
That's all you have today, right?
That's it for me.
You know, that you're representing anyway. There are other things that are interesting to you, but you're only representing what you got. Taken
Thank you
care
very much.
And that fellow will get in contact with me once he's getting close to sag cut and has to go over, and we'll see what the inlet's doing then. But that's down the
Is it,
road.
everything still running right now?
Yeah, it's going in and out like it used to a long time ago. Keeping itself open, so that's kind of handy for us.
And it's pretty stable in its location too. It doesn't seem to be moving.
It's not wandering. It's
Yeah, because you got into that clay. It's kind of holding the channel
Yeah.
in place.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Have a great one.
South Environmental, I think it's 16 code road, South Environmental.
Hoffman.
One board.
Good morning.
Joe, you want me to go ahead or?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So I was here maybe about a month ago or 2 months ago to renew a dock permit, GP 00071, to remove the existing dock and to construct a fixed elevated catwalk 40 by 30.2 feet and a platform at the seaward terminus measuring 6 by 20. As we went through the overall regulatory procedure, some of the other agencies involved requested to downsize that fixed platform at the end, so that's primarily why we're here. So we're here to just amend the permit so to go with a 4-foot by 10-foot platform versus what you guys approved, which was 6 by 20. We're also going to add a second set of pilings to bring that number up to 18. Docks at the same location, extends pretty much the same length out into the waterway. Still going to utilize the roof flow, but we just got to clean up the record on our end.
Basically, amending the application to this change.
Shrinking it
Give me
down.
an overhead on what
Yeah.
area.
4 foot by 10 foot.
Yeah.
It's in that little, it's on the east end of
There you go.
Southampton Shores Cove.
All right.
It's not much different than the footprint of the old dock that's in there.
No.
Okay.
I think it ends right here, right at the edge.
Yeah.
Doesn't go past that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a hitch past it, according to this one. Yeah, no, I'm fine with it.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it.
We do need stamp plans.
Yeah, no, I know. I'll get to that. Okay. Have a good morning.
Thank you.
You too. Interscience Research. Mr. Walker, Stephen T. Collier at 5 Edge Premier. Good morning, sir.
How's it going?
Morning, Joe.
Mr. Walker.
Go ahead, Tim. Okay, Stephen and Andrea Collier, 5 Edgemere Drive, North Sea. This is a project that was permitted by the trustees prior, and consultants got the permits. The permit included 10 feet of beach grass. Property owner was purchased the property and replaced the beach grass with gravel. So they've been cited and have to go to court. And I have to ask the board whether the gravel that they installed can be permitted. It has a liner underneath of it so that there's not going to be weeds that grow up through the gravel. It's well installed. The permit was originally issued for Cape American beach grass. The cost and expense factor of these people installed the gravel, thinking that it was acceptable, and they paid good money for the gravel. It's installed nicely. The adjacent property right here is 3 Edgemere Road, and that permit was issued in 2013 and didn't include any requirement for Cape American beach grass. Other people on Woolly Pond have new permits, and some of them have sand, some of them have beach grass, and some of them have lawn down to the water.
That's not good.
So I need to know, is the board amenable to issuing a permit after the fact for gravel instead of Cape American beach grass?
I don't love the idea, but
Is that gravel? I mean,
That's the beach grass.
Jim, when was the beach grass permit issued? What year?
The permit was 2018.
Okay.
The property owner.
7 years ago.
and there's a
more
liner
recently-
under it.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
I just wanted
there's a
to,
liner.
the
Permeable
violation
liner
happened
or-
after the planting.
It's a permeable liner.
Keep the weeds out.
At Bullhead, we have regular filter fabric, and we have 10 feet of stone. The stone was given to the club by one of the members, so it ends up being a real good solution behind the bulkhead. And it's actually worked. You can ask Joe. It's worked out better than we would have expected.
Yes.
I
Well-
personally am against it for the simple fact that we're gonna start a precedent whereby people can come in and they're gonna take and do what they want to do and then come back and grovel.
Because, plus, this is residential, Bullhead is a private commercial, club, so.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
opening up a precedent here. If we
Could
accept
plants be added to the gravel now? I mean, could
I
it
thought
was
our
permitted as
philosophy
beach
was
grass.
to put some beach grass and some, salt tolerant plantings in there to put a root system in it to wick up some of the moisture.
Yeah,
I mean, some of the,
if they're worried about the expense of moving the gravel, they could move 12 inches of the gravel and put in some kind of substrate and plant grass again.
yeah, I mean, between the bulkhead and the gravel, there should be some strip of, vegetation there for absorption of nutrients.
How long is
how
the
deep is the
gravel?
gravel?
If I may also, this is very commonplace in justice court. They come in and ask for forgiveness after they've already done it in violation of your permit.
How long has
It
the
becomes
gravel
a cost of doing business. We'll take the fine, but we'll get an okay from the board. So
Jim, how long
I
has
think you need to keep that in mind
How
as
long
you,
has
as you weigh it.
how long has the gravel been in place?
I would say a year or two, Joe. They bought the property. I could tell you more precisely if I looked through my pile of junk here. But
This is a new owner,
it's a new one.
so a previous owner did the beach grass, and this new owner came along and did the
Took
gravel.
the beach grass out.
Okay.
Put
Didn't like
the
the
gravel
grass
in.
and wanted the.
Yeah, I'd have to say we need to maintain consistency with the prior issued permit. Otherwise, it's going to create.
Before you decide, if the board's not inclined to allow gravel here, I think, in fairness to Steve Collier and his wife, that I'd like to go out and meet one or more of the trustees and look at the property.
I just would caution the board on something like that. That does set a precedent. You gave a permit with conditions. I don't think, unless he can show a reason for the change that's beneficial to all concerned, the homeowner decided they didn't like the grass and they engaged in self-help. That has a cost as well.
I understand, but I don't mind putting this matter on hold so that you can
I
meet
agree.
with the trustee there. And
I think we should pull the minutes of these
Yeah.
meetings up for this, because I remember there being an issue down here.
right, so
I
let's
don't quite remember what it was.
right. So and based off of that and what you're saying, let's put this on hold. Let's do the research over here, and then we'll set up a.
But as far as the cost of moving the gravel, I mean, I'm fine with them only moving some of the gravel and putting a substrate on top and replanting as the permit was filed in the past.
Environmental plantings may be a solution here. But in any case, I think it would be nice if one or more of the trustees could meet me out there at your convenience.
James,
Mr. Durier can tell us when.
Right. So
James, with neighbor, when was that permitted? The neighbor.
13.
Which one?
The neighbor, yeah,
It was 2013.
that was 13.
I don't have that.
Right. So
Yeah, we need to pull up other permits
right.
of the neighboring properties. Ed wants the minutes. You want to meet with somebody?
yeah, I think it goes on hold. Let's do research over here. We'll meet over there. And then we'll
We
revisit.
submitted some of that stuff, the permits and whatnot. Minutes, maybe James Durier help me with that.
Yeah.
I'll do some research with the prior permits from the neighbors and things.
Yeah.
I believe the beach grass was originally proposed by end consultants at the time, so maybe there wasn't any conversation at all. However, to be fair,
we're going to put it on hold, and
I'd like to meet Joe out there.
I'm going to go with your suggestion. Meeting,
fine.
All right.
research.
We'll talk.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day.
Nelson,
Okay.
update on Agawam?
You have a Zoomer coming in?
Good morning, everyone. Yes,
Morning.
we do have some participants on Zoom. Is there any way you can make sure that they're in?
Kevin, we have our participants on the TV.
Wow, there's a lot here. Is this all the,
It's renewal, I think, it's an update on the
going on down
Oh, the harvester project we're talking about?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear the update on that.
Figured you would.
I know, I really would.
Well, I don't want to get started until we have the representatives from AECom. If we can just wait.
Yeah, we
I know.
facilitated that, yeah.
I was texting with them. They were on. They
Okay.
could hear you. They could hear the meeting. So I just want to make sure that they're able to talk because they have some things to present to you too.
I'm telling them in right now.
Thanks, Jess. So actually, I can get started while we're waiting for them to come in. Just to recap, this board, the trustees, maybe some members that are sitting here right now weren't part of the discussions, but in 2022, the trustees issued a permit for this project. The methodology of the project may have changed very, very slightly in terms of some of the components. Oh, good. Dan is on. So with me today is Dan Levy from AECom. AECom is the representing company who is designing and implementing this project. So he will answer the technical aspects of the project once we get through just the background. So again, to go back to the background, the permit was issued by this board in 2022. We also started the process with the DEC around that time. It's been almost 3 years in the review process with the DEC for a multitude of reasons. We have finally made some really good progress and we feel like a permit is coming shortly. But since the trustees issued this permit in 2022, it has expired. So we're here today to ask you to consider a renewal of the permit with a modification based upon the slight changes to the methodology. And in my opinion, the methodology updates are probably to the benefit of the trustees. The concept that was in place before used a booming weir system that actually floated on top of the surface of the water to collect the algae and transport it to the algae harvesting units sitting on the Dozier property. Again, the concept remains the same. They're still collecting the algae from the water and pulling it to the upland areas on Dozier to treat it, where it will remain in tanks and then be taken to an offsite. The algae will be taken to an offsite location. Actually, it's now a North Sea recycling facility for processing with sediment to use as a natural
The
fertilizer.
DEC signed off on that already?
So Dan can speak to the DEC components, and probably at this time, I will pass it over to him. James, do you have the plans that we emailed on Friday? Are you able to see that?
Did you email them to me?
I don't know if you were on that email exchange. Actually, Dan, do you have the? Oh, he has a PowerPoint. I'll let Dan walk you guys through the updates. That would probably be better. Dan, are you ready to
Hi,
take
everybody. I just want to make sure, is my audio coming in and can you see the screen?
Yeah, we hear you.
We hear you, we can see you.
And can you see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate this opportunity to give you an update. I'll just walk through a couple of slides quickly and then we can pause at any time for any questions. Here's the design layout of the harvesters. It'll be put on the Dozier property. As Brent mentioned, all piping is going to be not visible underground or in water. This is a schematic. This is the pipe. It'll be about 3,000 feet. It'll be placed on the bottom of the floor of the lake. They'll have weighted collars. And then up top here is the extraction. We'll have 3 pumps. These will be underwater, a submersible pump. So you'll not see anything. So in the lake itself, it won't have any visibility. The slurry that we're going to take out, essentially the process removes the algae, and the algae has a lot of carbon in it, as well as nitrogen and phosphorus. And we're proposing, and we've been working with the town to irrigate that along the cover of the landfill. This is the spray zones that we've shown There's a leachate collection area, so if anything percolates through, it goes into a leachate swale. There's a liner underneath it. That all goes to the town's leachate system. But the way we've designed this, that this will be a beneficial use. Essentially, we can take the nutrients, the carbon, add them to protect and strengthen the vegetation cover. It also provides a beneficial use versus just trucking it across the island. And this kind of gives an idea of what the vegetation looks like there at the North Sea landfill. I'll be happy to answer any questions. We have received the DEP recognition that they're going to be issuing a public notice on the algae harvester. We anticipate here in the next short term, hopefully next week, possibly two. And I'll stop there and open it up to questions.
I have a few. How does this part? I know the village recently was exploring a PRB on the north end of the lake for some infiltration. Would this system conflict with that proposal as well?
They're actually happening concurrently.
Okay.
So the PRB
they work together in the okay.
So the permeable reactive barrier system for this particular site is a well-based system. It's not the typical carbon membrane that's set up and act as a wall to collect groundwater as it moves towards the lake. This is more of a well system where they inject substance into the groundwater to actually coagulate and pull the nitrogen out of the groundwater and circulate it through a system. So yes, the PRB well system is currently ongoing, the review process with the DEC as well, and they will be happening hopefully simultaneously.
Because that was not in place when this was originally permitted.
Right, and the PRB system is completely outside of any of the trustees.
No, I get that. No, it's all fine, but it's still trying to solve similar issues here. So
Another tool to create better water quality.
Yeah.
I'm dying for some technical stuff. Like, for example, like what are you going to be injecting into these wells?
It's probably the stuff. It's probably the trimarine.
No,
it's carbon-based.
It's completely organic, basically vegetable oil. As simple as I can put it. The technical matters are available if I can get them to you. Mm-hmm. But again, that's pending review with the DEC Division of Water. Because there is a well component associated with it. It's undergoing a two-tiered review with the DEC, Article 24 freshwater, and Article, actually I think we got an NJ determination from the Article 24 regulations, but it's currently pending review to the Division of Water, looking at these specific details. But again, that project is completely separated from this because this project is actually dealing with the surface waters themselves, whereas the well is dealing with the groundwater, trying to, again, attack it from both ways.
So I don't know, I've gathered from those pictures that the affluent that you guys collect in the skimmers is approved by the state to utilize at the Southampton transfer station in North Sea. Has that been, because I know there was some questions when I spoke with Jackie recently, this and other matters. Mm-hmm. Of what, is there an apps? Is it set in stone that we can utilize the affluent at the transfer station? Or are we still waiting on state DEC?
Dan, do you have an update on where the DEC is with that?
Yeah, we heard word, was our understanding that the town has the jurisdictional rights of the landfill, and since we're just spraying water essentially in the landfill, we thought that would be under the town's purview. However, we did hear from the mayor of the village of Southampton that the DEC wanted to see the basis of design report, which we have submitted to the town. So, at this point, yeah, just a matter of waiting to hear back on the system.
And my other question I had, when I was on the village board, I became quite familiar with Agawam, and I do recall one presentation given where the report was that the sediment on the north end is much more toxic than the south end, or it was had different variations. And I'm just curious, with the filtration, are we going to be focusing more on the how is the filtration happening from the standpoint that is it going to go in a from north to south, or what is the circulation going to, how's that going to occur?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. I don't have the model in front of me, but I can send that over separately. Essentially, because this lake is north-south elongated, we're going to extract the water from the north side of the lake in 3 pumps. Each pump will pull about 1 million gallons a day, so it's 3 million gallons a day of water coming out of the north side of the park, of the north side of the lake. The discharge will come down here about 3,000 feet, and in about a 30-day period, we will then have essentially a clean water plume pushing on the backside, and then it will allow the mixing. So we did a computer model to simulate the right placement of this discharge to allow mixing. Our mission is really to take the abundance of nutrients out, not all the nutrients, just the abundance of nutrients out, to return this back to an ecological habitat that would be what would have been here prior to the harmful algal blooms. This is designed and engineered specifically to allow us the optimal mixing zone and extraction zone. So essentially, we'll be extracting on one side and discharging on the other.
Okay, because the sediment is very toxic, and I think it's what, the 6 feet of sediment on the bottom of that lake, so which is it's a lot. So I just want a clarification on that.
Okay. I have one question. Where the discharge pipe is currently located, is it going to scour out the sediment that's on the bottom and resuspend it in the water column, thus refertilizing the whole water body? Is this going to be like we had this issue with Mill Pond with solar bees? We had solar bees in there, and they actually at a low bay, they were bringing up all the sediment, and all the organics that were in there was fertilizing the algae and causing even a more massive algae outbreak. Is that something that's been thought about?
Yes, this is an extraction process, unlike the solar bees that just recirculate the water in place. We're actually treating and extracting. So by pulling 3 million gallons of water out a day, that'll be essentially 1 million gallons a month, which is about half the water volume of this entire lake. And filtering out the algae in this aspect will allow us to get a better restoration and a quicker restoration of the lake bottom. We have engineered the discharge of the water so it does not scour the bottom. It has a diffuser system that will allow us to get the optimal mixing. Those are angled pipes. I have another drawing with that in our document, but we have computer models that's showing how this would operate without scouring the bottom.
I have a question too. Like I do water filtration all day, every day for my job, but I haven't heard anything specific about how it is. You don't got to delve too deeply, but like how are you going to be separating out the algae from the water?
We'll be using the patented process known as the algae harvester. Trade name is a hydronucleation system. We're going to use a coagulant to bind the microscopic algae so it becomes a little bit more visible. It'll go coagulate them. Then we're going to use a microbubble system to essentially float and separate the algae from the water. So if you look at the Lake Agawam water today, it would be dark, murky, greenish. When it goes through our system, it'll be crystal clear. That gets discharged back, and there'll be a scum layer on top that gets filtered out. That goes into our holding tank, and that's what gets taken out. And the way the system was designed and engineered, by using the microbubbles, we don't lyse or rupture the cell, so we get the nutrients as well as the carbon out of the water.
Okay. What are you using as a flocculant to kind of bind all the algae cells together?
We have a organic flocculant, and we also use a aluminum chloral hydrate, very similar to what's been used in drinking water. We use these in a parts per million dosage, which stays within the algae, allows them to bind. But it's the same coagulants or flocculants that are used in wastewater treatment, in potable water systems.
Cool, thank you.
I have questions for James.
Can I just clarify something? These are all really great questions. I just want, Dan, can you clarify with regards to the methods of treatment in the upland containment tanks, is it consistent with what the trustees have in their files from the previous approval?
Yes.
The upland stuff hasn't changed other than a slight tweak in the location, is that correct?
Correct. Right. Everything's
So-
the same at this point.
So everything you have in your files, Matt, I just wanted to make, if you wanted to look at the details, it's all in your files. We can provide additional copies if you need them.
Can I ask my question?
I have a
Sorry.
James, do we have all the paperwork necessary to get this advanced?
Yeah, it's a renewal with a slight modification on the upland.
Well, we have it all, right?
There's no change in the water.
So we're good to go paperwork-wise. So in other words, if we advance from today, we could get a resolution and you're done with this.
You might just need stamped plans. I mean, the ones that I submitted digitally, I don't know if they're stamped or not. And I'm sorry, it might have just been Jess and Charlotte on the email.
No,
I mistakenly.
You're answering, there's a lot of great questions here and there's a lot of great, information here. And it's a project that's been massively vetted and being massively vetted, and it's just a lot of moving parts. I just want to make sure that, we're partnered up with this. We're facilitating things, in an
you're
expeditious
here-
fashion,
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Scott. You're here for us to help you move forward.
Correct, and I want to do that. I want to move forward. I just want to make sure we're good. So we have everything we need.
What do you need?
Advance it. We
We're
want to
good.
get Lake Agawam looking clean. I don't want
I'm happy to
toxic
give
public
you-
health hazard in the village of Southampton. I want nice, clean water.
It definitely needs to be implemented.
So we need stamped plans because this is a renewal.
Whatever you
correct?
need.
This
Just
is a renewal.
And a modification.
This is a modification.
And
The
a renewal.
modification is actually everything upland, correct?
No, there's modifications of the methodologies, the technique in the water.
In
It's-
the water.
The process is still the same, it's just the system they're using is not a weiring system, it's
Right.
more of a under.
I just have one last question. Due to the topography of where Agawam is, in the event of a storm, hurricane, whatever, all the water goes down to the lake. So, does that affect how this businesses will operate in an event of a storm or a hurricane or what have you?
In the event of a major influx
storm,
of
flooding,
storm water
yeah.
into the system. Dan, can you speak to whether or not there's a fail-safe or any adjustments necessary during a massive storm event?
Yeah, the good news is everything in water will be, I believe, about as safe as it gets. The submersible pumps will have concrete vaults around them. They'll be placed on the bottom of the sediment. So we don't expect anything to have damage with a storm inside the lake. Outside the lake, the biggest assets are the harvesters. Those are made of stainless steel. They'll be full of water. We don't anticipate anything there. Electric's going to be buried. Everything else is going to be underground. If we do have damage, it would be to the fence, maybe to some of the support buildings, but those are ancillary buildings, and if there's damage, then we'll be able to fix them. So I don't anticipate anything major, even if we do get a Category 5 storm hitting that area. But we'll take necessary measures to.
Cat 5 storm.
Well,
All bets are off.
This is the least of
All
our
bets are off.
The village
Come on.
might be open to the ocean, and we won't have to
Let's
worry
be
about it.
realistic. Major storm. All bets are off.
Oh, wow.
Water in the village during
Valid
a
point.
hurricane.
Valid point.
Yeah, that's what I just said. If the village makes it through a Cat 5, we'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, in McDonald's we could drive a boat.
I think to Scott's point, and to James' point, it is a renewal and an amendment, and it seems like the system by which you're within the pond is a little bit different, but for all intents and purposes, it's been vetted, it's been studied, it's been it's part of the system. I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I want to facilitate a successful
let's move
partnership for
forward
water
and
quality.
just-
So whatever we got to do to make that
Yeah.
happen, I think is what we got to do.
I'm fine with the amendment, like the renewal and the changes that they made that is within the pond, within our jurisdiction.
put it for a stamp plans review. That way
With
they
stamp
can
plans,
review
yeah.
the file, whatever you need to get
So
to them,
that
get
way
it
we're not
before the
trying
next
to-
meeting.
No.
They can move
Yeah.
forward.
Yep, we'll get you the
Yeah,
stamp plans.
that's
Thank you.
fine.
Thank you all.
When's
Okay.
it gonna start?
As soon as the DEC lets them go.
Right. There's a lot of things moving parts here. We
But
want to be part
don't
of the,
let us be the cog in the wheel.
we
and
appreciate
stop
it.
we want to be
things, yeah.
part of the solution.
Yeah.
We appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you very much, guys.
Approved.
What else? We've got one more here, right? As he's patiently waiting back there. Have a great one. Come on down. Southampton Town, another Southampton Town, 4 Beaver Dam Road, West Hampton, L.K. McLean Associates. Last but not least, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is Merges Bay Project facility.
It's the Rainer Boathouse.
Yep, Rainer Boathouse.
Yeah, so I was here about a month ago as well. We discussed, and I think the main concern was with the floating dock and the piles. Everything else you guys had previously approved, and we were just here for the permit modification for that extra little section of dock and the floating dock. Right now, the piles are set to elevation 11, which is pretty high, but we base it off of like 2 feet higher than FEMA flood. So at the time, it was seen that the flood was 9. Technically, they should be set to 10 because the FEMA flood is 8. But we don't want the floating dock to essentially just lift up and off and then be floating around during the event that that does occur. I mean, I'm sure there would be bigger problems at hand if it does ever get that high, but that was the basis
Less
for design.
crap floating around, the better.
Yeah, exactly. And we do have the request, you guys requested that they were double strapped and capped, so we threw that on there with the notes, and it's also in the section. And just based on the soils and how much muck was there with the probings, we had to use 3 piles.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
So am I.
It's good.
Advance it.
Yeah.
I'm good with it.
And the plans are stamped, so we can.
I look forward to going crabbing off of that dock.
We're good?
Good.
All right. Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you very much.
Right.
Are these,
Let's see, we got general permit applications for determination, final stamp plan review, Secretary Treasurer Warner,
What's this one, Ed?
8 Squared Holly Lane.
I know where it is. I just,
6 Holly Lane.
how did you end up with
I have no idea.
64 Holly Lane. Is that just a typo?
It must be, yeah.
So that's just supposed to be
It
chip.
should be on the
Chip.
chip.
Eddie's a team player.
Oh,
I'm sorry, Eddie. You can take it. Take the heat.
Take one for the team.
So
Yeah.
we got all the.
So that means,
It's fine. We
that
got
means
everything.
Joe's gonna handle it.
I mean,
Yeah, the plans are stamped.
we vetted through it. Everything's good.
Matches what we agreed upon.
Yeah.
Chip, you good with that?
Yeah, I'm good. Send it.
Okay.
Good.
See it?
We're good.
All right, so that can advance.
That's it.
And that would be concluding our work session. It was a lengthy work session today, right? We do have a substantial executive session agenda. So if there's is there any discussion needed for the
Let's
board?
start.
Are you good? All right, so I will make a motion to adjourn our work session
Second it.
and go into executive session for the purposes of discussing personnel and litigation. Seconded by Trustee
Yes.
Warner. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, see everybody later.